Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Hey sports fans, are you ready for an exhilarating gaming experience? Introducing VIPclub.lv, your ultimate online sportsbook and casino. VIPclub.lv offers a vast selection of sports, from football and basketball to tennis and baseball. Bet on your favorite teams and enjoy the thrill of the game. But that's not all. Our state-of-the-art online casino offers a dazzling array of games, including slots, blackjack, roulette, and live dealer tables. Win big with their fantastic promotions, rewards, and exclusive offers. Join VIPclub.lv today and get a generous 200% match welcome bonus to start your winning streak. Bet it, win it, and cash it at VIPclub.lv. Visit VIPclub.lv now and play responsibly. VIPclub.lv, your sportsbook and casino extravaganza. Must be 21 or older to play. Please gamble responsibly. Visit gambleware.org for help.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is Friday, June 2nd, 2023. It's our weekly visit with the two NCAA experts, Matt Grissom and Quentin Mills, as it's Christmas Day for them, as the tournament has begun, as my Huskies have cut it to 3-2. Looks like they got a guy thrown out at second. They're replaying it. Shout out to our new sponsor, VIPclub.lv. Go over to www.vipclub.lv. Sign up. The best customer service around for any of your sports wagering needs. Tell them ECSI sent you, and they'll take care of you as well. So without further ado, let's bring in the stars of the show, Mr. Quentin Mills and Mr. Matt Grissom. What is up, gentlemen?
What is up, Jeff? It's Christmas Day. I'm excited. We got a bunch of gifts that we've already opened on ESPN Plus, and I'm just infatuated with college baseball today.
I'm living the dream over here. I've got you on my right. I've got baseball on my left. Looking at odds right in front of me. Just a beautiful day. Let's make some money as Washington just goes yard for a 2-run shot. This is fun. It's beautiful.
Monday, the brackets come out. A lot of talk. Me and Q were talking behind the desk about initial shock. Who got the dream run? Your initial thoughts, Matt, when you saw the brackets?
I thought USC got snubbed. What Andy Stankiewicz had done there, that was really impressive. They kind of got their bid stolen by Arizona, who didn't really – they had a losing record in the Pac-12 compared to USC, who had a winning record. They kind of stole that spot from USC, which as a Razorback fan, I'm grateful for because I would have rather not played USC. But outside of that, I mean, it's surprising that Auburn and South Carolina are hosting, Campbell not hosting, Dallas Baptist not hosting. I think the committee really leaned on RPI, and, you know, we're kind of seeing it with Kentucky right now. They've been the RPI darling all season long, even though they dropped, 5 out of 7 of their last SEC series. So the committee obviously liked them enough. They built up the SEC maybe a little too much. But all in all, I think they got it somewhat right. It sucks, like Kelly's Kansas State Wildcats getting left out. There were definitely some bubble teams that probably should have made it in over some of these other teams. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and we've got to bet it accordingly. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Q, is what he's saying about the bubble teams getting left out and the host? Obviously, I would assume the bigger schools hosting probably can get more fans into most of these stadiums versus maybe a couple of the smaller schools. But what was your thoughts when you saw the brackets?
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of echo Matt. I think he said it perfectly. I think Kansas State should have been in. I think USC rightfully as well. Both played really good baseball to end the season. And one of the categories or the review points that the committee claims that they go after or go on is the last 15 games of play. And I think both of those teams had a really good run in that 15 game span. So it's unfortunate. I got on a Twitter rant, voicing my opinion about Tulane. I think I have a bounty reward on my head if I ever go to NOLA. I think the committee's not only got to change the RPI, I think it's a flawed system. It has been for years. They've got to change that. I don't know what the answer is without doing a deep dive, but I think another thing you got to look at is the automatic qualifiers. Tulane, and this isn't a jab at the actual players themselves. They played hard in their conference tournament. They won. I just have a problem with them being 19-40 and in the tournament, versus a Kansas State or a USC. So that was my gripe. But the hosting thing, I think he said it well. Auburn, Campbell probably should have had a spot over South Carolina. They're obviously in the same bracket there in Columbia, so that'll be interesting. And then just to kind of touch on your hosting area, so it really just depends on stadium capacity. Like, I know Duke is considered a bigger school, but they actually don't have a stadium where they can host. So Campbell, the same way, they actually asked for a variance to actually play in a minor league ballpark in Fayetteville that could have that capacity. So there are ramifications that the NCAA needs for fan base size and things like that. So some of the schools, like I said, whether it's mid-major or a Power 5, they just don't have the facilities. So it's kind of really not necessarily small school, big school. It's just school basis. It really is what it is.
Matt, I question, and this is going to be for both of you guys. We've done shows every Friday for the most part for most of this season. As the season progressed, I always ask you guys, anyone you want to add to our portfolio, the Campbells of the world, the Yukons of the world, and the Wake Forest is at 10-1, the Clemson's, Virginia's, yada, yada, yada. The brackets are out. The matchups are there. I'll go to you first, Q. Was there anyone after the brackets that you added as a future because of maybe the path that you saw?
Yeah, I took two futures right off the bat when I saw how they lined up. I took Texas A&M to win the Stanford region. I'm not saying they're going to make an Omaha run. I think they have the capability to. They've got a College World Series head coach in Jim Schlossnagle. They've got really good players, Jace Lavalier. They got Austin Bose and Trevor Warner kind of anchoring the offense. They've got Wayne Singh, who's kind of emerged as their go-to pitcher right now. And they have this guy named Nate Detmer, who was a stud last year on the mound. He's kind of had some inconsistency issues this year, but maybe kind of sliding out of that non-dominant role will be good for him in this playoff run. And I think they can beat a Stanford team that, in my opinion, outside of Quinn Matthews, they kind of lack on the pitching side of things. And then another team is Iowa in the Indiana State, Terre Haute region. I think their pitching and their batting, is second to none in that in that region. UNC probably was the team that could challenge them, but they're actually out. They're missing their star player, Vance Honeycutt, for the entire region. So I really jumped on both of those as soon as I saw it.
Matt?
Well, I liked Clemson plus 115 to come out of that regional. We actually figured out if you bet Clemson and Tennessee, you're going to come out plus money. But Clemson just gave up the lead to Lipscomb. So we'll see. I'm on West Virginia to come out of that Lexington regional. Despite having to sleep in dorm rooms all weekend, they're plus 220. Dallas Baptist 215 coming out of Stillwater. And then, like Q said, Iowa plus 200. I think the Hawkeyes have the most complete team of that regional. And as you're seeing right now, I think Wright State's beating up on Indiana State pretty bad. Hats off to Terre Haute, but it's going to be a short ride home for them, both literally and metaphorically. But Campbell, I'm worried about them. I'm kind of kicking myself now. I didn't back NC State in this game, getting plus money just to kind of buy myself out of this bet. Outside of that, Virginia is a team that I really like now, seeing how this seeds up to make it to Omaha. And then when I was in Las Vegas, I took Vanderbilt 21-1, A&M 70-1, and then I've got Arkansas 11-1 to win the College World Series. So I think there's still some value on the board. If you could get, 3 or 4 of the 8 teams in Omaha and have futures tickets on them, I think you're in a really good position to be able to, at the very least, hedge out, still make a profit.
The intro, I think it was on ESPNU, they said the potential, if every series went to the max, it could be 119 games over the weekend. And I'm just sitting there. I mean, you talk about crack central. I mean, a kid in a candy store, however we want to say this. I mean, you never have to leave the couch. You better make sure you got enough batteries in the remote because you're going to be going back and forth. I got 3 65-inch screens here. I got them all covered with games, and I'm still flipping around trying to keep up with the madness. So let me ask you, how do you tone this thing down for the average guy? Is it series? Is it, winning the bracket? How can you get someone to get there involved in this without, really putting the bankroll at a big risk?
I think you just got to play smart with your money. Listen, this is a long tournament. I mean, it's essentially covers the entire month of June. You really have to stay disciplined, and I think that's the biggest thing. Whether you had $1,000 or $100 in your account, don't spend all 100 or all 1,000 today. Figure out what you're comfortable with. Figure out what you like the most. Kind of narrow down. If you're a guy that wants to play volume plays, then you lower how much you put on each game. If you kind of like going from a 10-team lean to maybe a 3 is what you actually bet, you figure that out. But you just have to figure out what is good for your bank account because everybody's unit is different. And I'm not here to tell you what yours should be. It's what you financially can risk. Just be disciplined and stick to your plan. Do not try to, overcome maybe a couple losses today with some late games tonight because that's forced plays, and generally forced plays don't work out positively.
Matt, same thing.
Yeah, you don't want to blow your load all on Friday. And then you have to handicap it all together. So if you take a futures piece, kind of like I was talking about Campbell and taking NC State, if you're willing to risk more units on a regional futures bet, then hedge yourself in positions where the matchup may not be in your favor. And kind of like I felt with NC State, like Campbell played great this season, but they don't play the same competition that all these other teams play. So on paper, it looks good, but at the end of the day, NC State is more of a blue blood program than Campbell, and you're giving them plus 125 if if you love this Campbell team and think they're going to win the regional. They've got to win game 1. But if you say you put $200 on Campbell plus 200 to win 4, throw $100 on NC State. If they lose, you lost $100, but your bet's still alive to win the future. So it's kind of a lot of back and forth, and that's the hardest thing, I guess, when you're giving out picks is people don't know what I have futures tickets on, and so like when I bet, I try to bet the game at hand instead of how I would actually bet it, just because I don't want to give out NC State and then be like, well, wait, you gave out Campbell. I don't have time to explain the semantics of it. At the end of the day, I want to win more than I lose. So I'm kind of a madman when it comes to that. I probably hedge out a little too much, but overall it's worked out. So I guess I'm not going to change it. But yeah, people are texting me. They're like, what totals do you like? I haven't been able to bet totals all season long. I'm not going to try to start handicapping it now. There's 32 games going on today. I don't have time to handicap 32 plus another 32 totals. I mean, and then you got run lines on top of it. So I just stuck to what I know. We're going to stick to the money lines and try to come out a winner.
You're preaching to the choir. We do an action parlay on Sundays. we do futures, we do series plays, and I always, hedge is your friend, meaning guarantee some profit. That's all I ask. And a perfect example was a week, 10 days ago. We had the Panthers in the series against the Hearts in hockey. Panthers up 2-0, coming back home, and it was a pick'em game, and I call it a free swing. Everyone that had the Panthers in the series, you got a free swing here at Carolina. Now, whether you put some pizza and beer money, you put a quarter or a half, if the Panthers win, your series is up 3-0. You're just waiting for it to cash. If the Hurricanes win, well, you're getting yourself a little extra cash, and you're still up 2-1 in the series. So, Matt and Q, I absolutely 1,000% agree with that thought process.
Yeah, Kelly, I'm tweeting her right now. She said, I'm still mad boycotting college baseball. Kels, just.
Can we gift you a winner as a silver lining?
Yeah, I see she's missing the chance to win money on 64 games, or 64 teams, but because hers isn't one of them, it's unfortunate.
I have the wager talk in front of me. I don't have the DraftKings, so if one of you guys have that, you can use that. Just going to give some updated scores here, and these are probably a tad behind, of course. Right now in the bottom of the eighth, Kentucky up 1-0 against Ball State. 4-0 now.
Yeah, I actually have it up. It's 4-0 in the eighth.
Okay. Southern Miss Sanford, I have zeros. Lipscomb 4-3 against Clemson. Texas Tech still 3-2 against the Huskies of UConn. NC State whooping those Camels or whatever, 3-0 in the fifth. I have Duke 4-2. See, I think it's all this that I have. I got one more for you. Wright State 5-2 over Indiana State, and it looked like Indiana State went off almost a 2-1 favorite. So, Q, tickets in pocket live for today, and some leans that you have moving forward.
Yeah, I'm actually probably going to count one as a loss. Dallas Baptist is down 8-1 to Washington. I said it in our guide. You just don't know what Washington team's going to show up today. They look like they could beat anybody in the country, but they could come out tomorrow and lose by 15, and nobody would be surprised. So that's not looking too hot. The over in the Texas Tech UConn's not looking too hot. If I can get some couple late inning runs, then maybe we kind of get back in there. But I really like Iowa today. I like Texas A&M. I like ECU on the money lines. And then I win a juice-heavy parlay. I have Miami, Vanderbilt, Florida, and Arkansas at plus 107. It's the famous words of death. I don't see how this can lose. But, you look at it favorably matchup-wise. It looks like it should come home for us. It's you got to play smart. You got to, like Matt said, you play the money lines. I only dabbled in 2 over-unders, so just be cautious with that because we haven't had those all season. We're not going to consider ourselves savants for something we, just got introduced to today. So just keep it simple, and I'm not here blowing, like Matt said, I'm not blowing my load on all these plays. I think I posted 8, but that doesn't mean that I'm putting them all as hammer plays. You got to play accordingly. Some are half units, some are full units. So you just got to kind of find your own groove there.
What was the Miami, Vandy, Arkansas? What was the fourth wheel?
Florida at plus 107. So those are going to be all your later afternoon to evening games.
Okay. Matt, what's your slate look like today?
Well, let's hope that we're getting all the losses out of the way with Campbell, Northeastern, and Dallas Baptist. But you could still hop on Iowa. I like them with, I think, Morgan's pitching. And then Troy, they've got a pitching advantage. You get a little plus money on the Trojans. And then I'm on TCU. I think they take care of business tonight. I'm honestly surprised that line is not further apart. I think it did move a little bit. You see what Wager Talk has up. But I got it at 130. looks like 140 and 155 somewhere else. But I mean, I like that. I think TCU should probably be more like 175.
Jeff, I got one more I failed to mention for you. I've got Stanford Southern Miss at plus 104. The reason I think it's noteworthy of kind of throwing back out there is Stanford's throwing Quinn Matthews, their ace today, and Southern Miss is throwing Tanner Hall. So you're getting two aces on the mound in game ones against inferior opponents. So if you can catch plus money on two aces going, I think it's worth the risk.
West Virginia, too. That was another one. I laid the 155. I think Blaine Traxel is going to start. So West Virginia is going to have the pitching advantage for sure.
So game one today, best of three, correct?
Yeah, well, first
double elimination.
Yeah, double elimination. Okay. First team, yeah.
So the losers go to the losers bracket, the winners go to the winners bracket, and it's just
correct.
So when will the first brackets potentially be done? Monday, Tuesday,
Sunday?
Yeah, we'll know.
Sunday.
We'll know Sunday if one team goes undefeated and loses that last game, then they'll play another game on Monday. But more than likely it should be Sunday. We'll know where everybody's going to be.
So let's say they all end on Sunday, and then when are we looking for the next round of games to begin? The following weekend?
It'd be Friday.
It'd be Friday.
Yeah, so that would be a best of 2 or 3 series between the final 16 teams left. So we would go from 64 to 16. All the host sites obviously would either stay there, or if you get into a situation where maybe a host loses, then they have to figure out who the higher seed would be to host the next round. But it'd be the same 2 teams in a best of 3 series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Obviously, weather dependent. For example, Coral Gables is supposed to have rain all weekend this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if there's rain in the forecast next weekend. There have been many, many regionals and super regionals that have extended into Monday due to weather. So that's just something to kind of be mindful of as well.
So if I remember correctly, I got to bring them up because they're on life support, but they got a leadoff single. Is that a single or double? Leadoff double for the Huskies here. So last year, the Huskies survived the first weekend, and then they go to Stanford and they lose 2-0. Thanks for playing. Got some good air miles, though, so that was good for them. So the host. So in other words, if the host wins, they don't leave. People will then, the next team will come to them. Okay.
The top 8.
Yeah, the top 8 hosts wouldn't leave.
Okay. So I'm just trying to put everything in perspective here. Weekend's done. So then you guys, as the professionals, and I'm using the word professionals, the experts here, you're going to have some upsets. You're going to have, obviously, some chalk. I'll go with Q first here. You take the next round in the matchups, reevaluate your futures, and if you see something, dive in, or as Matt said, if there's a potential small hedge possibility, you would also go back in that way as well.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. So I would imagine Matt and I will kind of recap, when this is over, what we saw, what I saw, what I liked, what I didn't like, same with him. Maybe there's a team that's playing really hot and you're like, man, they could upset this team. This team looked really sloppy out of the region, or they had a bloodbath and maybe they're still kind of reeling over that. There's so many factors in there, injuries, things like that could happen over this weekend. Maybe some guys are getting some star players back. So you really got to dive in. I'm going to research, he's going to research, and we'll kind of try to figure out what is going on, where teams are at currently. And then, I believe we're doing a super regionals guide. So we'll get that information into that. And then we'll, pump out the weekly shows and spread this information to get everybody ready for the super regional weekend.
Yeah.
Matt, go ahead.
I'll just follow up on what Q said. I actually think it's easier to handicap the super regionals because you're going back to the regular season format. So rather than trying to figure out, okay, well, what pitcher is going to go for this team, 2 seed, 3 seed, 1 versus 4, it's all just one giant game of chess. Whereas next weekend, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series like they've been playing all season long. So they're going to go back to what has worked all year, start their Friday guy, Saturday guy, Sunday guy. And at that point, it's just comparing numbers.
And, as we're wrapping up here, listen, you spent endless hours and hours and sleepless nights building this guide, guys. So before we close up shop here, so you guys can enjoy the rest of the afternoon and evening action, Matt, talk about the work that you guys put into this guide. And you don't have to be shy. You can tell them what you guys did last year in this spot. And don't be afraid, duck boats, parades, stick the chest out, be proud here.
Man, so we had J-Cam and Parker Fleming, both their statisticians, and they just knocked this stuff out, man. From win probabilities to like every team's XFIP, Sierra, the advanced analytics, WOBA, walks, runs created plus, like anything and everything number-wise you want on a team. We've got it packed into this 40-page guide. I'm big on, marketing and how things look. So I wanted to make something that was very easy to read. As far as the numbers, those could be confusing to people. I tried to explain kind of what the numbers mean. And, for those that have followed us all year, we anchor our handicap essentially around pitching rotations. So obviously those aren't in there, but next week we will be able to do that because of the smaller field. But Parker's win probability, I think, really helps. That's a cool stat. Everything's color coded, so you see like who the first place team is and what stat, who's second place and who's worst. We've got weather, we've got stadium dimensions. I mean, anything and everything you can think of, we put it in this guide. So yeah, several hours of being up till 4 or 5 in the morning. I was sending Q text, which keep in mind, he's on the East Coast, so he's an hour later than me. So I was trying to catch him as I was going to bed. He was probably getting up to go to work. But it's fun for me. Like this helps me handicap the sport that I love. And so I started doing it for me because I had way too many outlets out there that I wanted all central into one place. And it wasn't available. So I just said, well, screw it. I'll gather all the information. I'll put it together myself. And that was 3 years ago. And now it's grown into something that like really looks professional in my opinion. So I love it. I mean, the bad thing is I was working on it till Wednesday. I didn't get a chance to even read it. So like we put it out and here I'm reading along, I see the numbers and everything, but you're not paying attention to it. So by the time I actually got to use my own guide to start handicapping lines, I was seeing everybody else start posting picks and plays. And I was like, I got to sleep for one. And then two, I got to go through this guide and figure out who really has the advantages here.
Q.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what he said. Special thanks to Parker and Jason Kamitsky from Notebook Wagering for getting those stats. It makes our lives a world of a bit, easier. Huge shout out to Matt. He put in twice the amount of work that I did. His creativity, his organizational skills is top notch. Almost all the credit, goes to him. I helped in, where I could and all the design features, that's him. Obviously we bounced some ideas back and forth for layout purposes and, what we thought was intricate and what was necessary to put in, for 64 teams versus 16, things are going to look a little different each guide because it's just too hard to cover 64 teams in the same way. So we kind of had to dumb things down and really figure out what we think is going to give you the best information for these bets. It's pretty cool. This is my first guide with Matt. It was a learning experience. Like he said, I would look at numbers as well. I'm trying to design it. We kind of played catch up on that aspect because we're trying to put it together versus actually just sitting down, with a cup of coffee and reading it. Plus people want us to come on their shows and kind of break it down. So with that being said, having a new baby at home, it was stressful, but it was a fun stress. It's, I have a fun, stressful job. So I felt right at home. It was nothing out of the ordinary. And, I'm excited to get the next guide out because we have some stuff coming out for that's going to be even more intimate, per teams. And it's going to be exciting. If I can help somebody win, a bet or two and kind of have money to take their family out to eat or whatever, it's a good feeling. So we do it because we love it. We're good at it. So why not spread the word?
Where can they find that guide, Q, and where can they find all your work?
So you can find it all over our Twitter, at QMilly, at NCAA Insiders, and then it can actually be found on our website, which is collegebaseballinsiders.com. Matt's got it there, so you can upload it. It's 100% free. Please pass it along. Hand it out to random people in the street if you can. It's well worth it. And, we're going to be pumping it out. I think I've tweeted it probably 30 times on Twitter as well as my plays. So just follow us there. It's the easiest way to get in contact with us. Even my wife, she probably has a better chance of getting me via a tweet than she does in person. So that's where I'm going to be living all weekend. And I think Matt could probably say the same.
And our shout out to our spouses because they're dealing with a lot of neglect.
Yes,
this
they
week.
are.
And Mr. Grissom, where can they find all your amazing work as well?
Grissom Tweets or NCAA Insiders. Q and I are both running that account now, so it's not just an Arkansas highlight reel. And then collegebaseballinsiders.com. That's where you can download it and follow us along. Give us your feedback. We'll take it to heart and work on it for the Super Regional Guide as well.
Quentin Mills, Matt Grissom, our weekly chat here on Fridays at 2:00 for the NCAA baseball. No pair does it better. And so keep up the great work. Enjoy the weekend. And we'll obviously look forward to coming back next Friday as we get to the Sweet 16, Final 16, Super Regional, whatever we want to call it, and get ready to cash some tickets on that weekend. Hopefully a few of my teams and their portfolio futures are still alive. I saw Wake Forest as low as 350. Is that correct?
I think it was 280 last night. I didn't see it today, but I would definitely believe it.
It's starting to have that Tennessee smell of last year.
They're very comparable to what Tennessee was last year.
I told Matt the difference for me was the cockiness level. I think Wake Forest is a bit more humble. Tennessee was very, very outspoken. Was the only difference in my opinion.
Well, we'll wait and see for next week. And so again, go get that guide, guys. Everyone watching. We've had a ton of people watching. If you can just shoot on over to NCAA Insiders. Go to their website, download it. It's free. FREE, free. Okay, make a couple copies, give it to your friend's friend, and stop promoting this. This thing is off the chart, guys. If you're not following, go follow Quentin at QMilly, and of course, Matt Grissom at Grissom Tweets at NCAA Insiders, and an occasional guest appearance on VSiN. We give him a round of applause for, hitting VSiN, and who knows where both of these young gentlemen go as we get closer and closer to it's Omaha, correct? We're going to Omaha?
Going to
Omaha.
All right. So, shout out to Connor. Thank you very much. In 13 minutes, myself and Andrew McGinnis at McGinnis Picks at Wager Talk will be talking some NHL as the Stanley Cup starts tomorrow, Vegas and the Panthers. And I think Andrew wants to talk a little Canadian Football League as they're getting ready to kick off sooner than later. So everyone, have a great afternoon, and we will see you soon.